The tale I'm about to share is both peculiar and contradictory. Consider this. How could an enthusiastic hunter vanish while venturing into a familiar forest merely 1.5 kilometers from his home? Ludger Bélanger, known as Ludgie since high school, hailed from a sizable family in Mechanicsburg Falls, Maine, with 8 siblings. Upon Ludger's transition to high school, the family relocated to the quaint town of Washington, Maine. In 1971, shortly after completing high school, Ludger tied the knot with his high school sweetheart Linda. By 1975, Ludger, at 25, and Linda, at 20, were parents to 3 young girls, the youngest being just 4 months old. Fresh out of high school, Ludger secured employment as a mechanic, finding contentment in his chosen profession. Linda, while tending to their children, whom they enrolled in kindergarten, took on a part-time role at a roadside cafe situated 3 kilometers from their residence. Acquaintances described Ludger Bélanger as a nurturing man who, despite yearning for a son, cherished his lovely daughters. The couple rarely engaged in disputes, often jesting that they simply lacked the time for such matters. Yet, like many young pairs, they grappled with financial challenges, given their family size of 5. The hunt. On the morning of November 25, 1975, a Tuesday, just 2 days before Thanksgiving, Linda, Ludger, and his brother John embarked on an early morning hunting expedition. Their objective was to secure a deer, the meat of which would provide sustenance for the family throughout the winter. After spending several hours tracking their quarry, Linda and John decided to head back home. Linda, who had a shift at the cafe starting at 11 a.m., needed to report for work. They bid farewell approximately 1.5 kilometers from home, atop one of the hills near Burkittville Road, Highway 105. The time was 9 a.m. Ludger also intended to return home, but opted for a detour through the woods in the hopes of encountering a deer. Assuring his wife that he would be home within an hour at most and would drive her to work, Ludger walked along the forest edge with his hunting rifle slung behind his back. Little did Linda know that this would be the last time she would see her husband. Vanished. As the hours ticked by and 2 turned into 3, Linda grew increasingly anxious. Ludger was known for keeping his promises, and if he committed to something, he unfailingly followed through. Concerned for her husband's well-being, Linda decided to forego her work commitments and take matters into her own hands. She reached out to Ludger's nearby brothers, and within half an hour, the family initiated their search. The recent light snowfall, measuring 10-15 centimeters, prompted some of the Belanger family members to venture into the woods on snowmobiles, periodically halting their progress to call out Ludger's name. Simultaneously, Linda contacted the local gamekeeper, providing details of the situation. The gamekeeper and his deputy joined the search efforts. Although the Maine State Police had been informed, their involvement was delayed, as only a few hours had passed since Ludger's disappearance. Yet Linda sensed that something was amiss, an intuition that drove her worry. Her concern escalated to the point of a nervous breakdown during the night, necessitating hospitalization. The search. Family members, the gamekeeper, and numerous acquaintances of Ludger tirelessly persisted in their search for him throughout the day and into the night. Some combed through the woods, while others canvassed the homes on the outskirts of Washington, knocking on doors and inquiring about any sightings of Belanger. Fortune smiled upon them at one particular house. Clayton Crosby, a distant neighbor of the couple, revealed that he had observed Ludger moving along the woodland's edge that day. He accompanied Ludger's brothers, guiding them to the spot where he had last seen the missing hunter. Tracking the trail for about a mile, they stumbled upon 2 shell casings of .30-30 Winchester caliber, the same ammunition used in Belanger's rifle. Soon thereafter, they discovered the object of Ludger's hunt, a deer, or more precisely, what remained of its carcass. It appeared that Ludger had successfully shot a large deer and begun the process of skinning it in the woods. Following the tracks in the snow, it seemed Belanger had dragged the prey to the road, approximately 400 meters away. However, subsequent tracks revealed a more unsettling turn of events. Travel companions. Examining the tire tracks near the deer carcass, it became evident that a vehicle had approached Ludger's location. Subsequent observations revealed that 2 men disembarked from the car, one from the driver's side and the other from the passenger side. The individual exiting from the passenger side displayed a cane, hinting at a visibly injured left leg, which he was dragging. Both men proceeded to smoke a cigarette each, discarded empty cans, and assisted Ludger in loading the deer into the trunk. After a brief pause, one of the men retrieved Belanger's shotgun, placing it in the trunk. Notably, this task was performed not by Ludger himself, but specifically by the driver of the car. Subsequently, Ludger, seemingly of his own accord, entered the vehicle, and they departed. In addition to the discerning observations made by seasoned hunters, a peculiar piece of evidence surfaced at the encounter site between Ludger and the unidentified men, proving to be the most intriguing aspect of the case. The clue. Resting on the snow was a receipt from Sully's garage in Union, approximately 20 kilometers from the location where Ludger disappeared. Remarkably, the receipt bore the same date as Ludger's disappearance. Equipped with this information, the Belanger brothers promptly relayed their findings to the police. The following morning, an officer was dispatched to Sully's garage to inquire about the vehicle that had been serviced there the day before. The garage staff recounted a peculiar narrative. The vehicle in question was identified as a green 1965 Buick Special, occupied by 2 individuals later designated as suspects A and B by the police. According to the employees, the men arrived at the garage around 9 a.m., with the driver insisting on an immediate fix for his leaking radiator. Despite being inebriated and hurling insults at the staff, the necessary repairs were carried out and the car departed. Curiously, at 2 p.m. the 2 men returned, even more intoxicated. This time, they sought attention for a different issue with the vehicle. In the course of their interaction, the men mentioned that they had been hunting earlier in the day. Notably, the mechanic working on the car observed a rifle within it. Once the repairs were completed, the men departed once again. Interrogation. Upon hearing the description, the officer swiftly identified the men, recognizing them as residents of Union Township. Taking immediate action, he drove to suspect A's residence on the same day to conduct an inquiry. Suspect had exhibited calmness upon the arrival of the police officers, readily permitting them to enter the house and conduct a search. During the search, the police uncovered several suspicious items: a recently cleaned shotgun, bags filled with meat, and a hacksaw evidently used in the butchering process. However, the most intriguing discovery awaited them in the basement, a locked room, to which suspect vehemently denied access. Although the officers sought a search warrant, they encountered delays and could only obtain it the following day. Upon their return to suspect A's residence, they found no gun, no meat, and the previously locked room was now accessible. However, a peculiar detail caught their attention. Affixed to the door of the freezer was a newspaper article detailing Ludger Bélanger's disappearance. A car. Shortly after Ludger's disappearance, a disturbing incident unfolded. The Buick Special, the car the suspects had driven on the day of Ludger's vanishing act, was stolen and set ablaze. The vehicle was discovered abandoned on the roadside. Upon extinguishing the flames, a grim scene unfolded inside the car. The rear seat, mats, and a portion of the ceiling trim were missing. The rear window had been shattered, and the trunk emitted a strong scent of cleaner. In the aftermath, the FBI unexpectedly joined the investigation. Their experts discovered hair and blood within the car. However, perplexingly, DNA testing conducted years later failed to conclusively link the samples to suspect B or Ludger. This development left the investigation in a frustrating stalemate. In the spring, following the conclusion of the harsh winter of 1975-76, law enforcement initiated an extensive search for Ludger. This intensive effort spanned 1 week, with over 100 individuals scouring the surrounding forests of Washington. Unfortunately, despite their exhaustive endeavors, not a single trace of Belanger was discovered. In the meantime, the identity of suspect A was unveiled, revealing him to be David Svenningsson. However, before authorities could question him about any potential knowledge, a grim twist occurred. In July 1976, just 7 months after Ludger's disappearance, David passed away. The circumstances surrounding David's demise were nearly as perplexing as Belanger's vanishing act. His residence unexpectedly exploded, and investigations by the police and experts indicated that David had orchestrated the explosion intentionally. However, the motive appeared ambiguous, whether it was an attempt to harm his wife or to secure insurance benefits remained unclear. On the day of the explosion, David had a round-trip ticket to and from Orlando, suggesting he had no intention of being at home during the incident. The mechanism involved a timer, utilizing a lit candle near a bathtub filled with gasoline. Yet something went awry in David's plan. Although his wife was on the second floor at the time, she managed to escape serious injury by leaping out of a window. Unfortunately, David Svenningsson sustained severe burns and succumbed to his injuries 11 days later. Suspect B. Under the letter B in the investigation, Danny Collins, Jr. emerged. The car used that day was registered in his name, although he served as a passenger due to a leg injury sustained a few days prior. In 1977, a mutual acquaintance of Collins, known by the alias Chris, approached the police with a startling revelation. According to Chris, Danny Collins, Jr. had confessed to him about how they, along with Svenningsson, enticed Ludger into the car with the intention of stealing meat. As per Chris's account, the men informed Ludger that they would consider the deer as payment for transporting it home. Ludger, however, declined, asserting that such an arrangement wouldn't suffice. He requested to be let out of the car, and at that moment, Danny callously shot Ludger with Svenningsson's shotgun. Regrettably, the police lacked concrete evidence to convict Collins Jr. The situation worsened when Chris passed away shortly after revealing this information, succumbing to a drug overdose. Consequently, Danny remained the sole living suspect in Ludger's disappearance and continues to reside in Maine. The end? The police handling of Ludger Bélanger's disappearance, as you may have observed, left much to be desired. This led to frequent conflicts between the officers and Linda, and she even faced the threat of arrest for allegedly obstructing the investigation. Interestingly, Linda now resides in the same house she once shared with Ludger. Unfortunately, in 1981, the house suffered significant damage in a fire, which also destroyed a majority of the photographs of Belanger. On June 20, 2021, at Linda's request, a Knox County judge officially declared Ludger Bélanger dead, citing a thorough search by family and the Maine State Police for 36 years. Despite the passage of many years, the investigation into Ludger Bélanger's case has seen minimal progress. However, a notable discovery occurred in April 2020. A man digging on his expansive property located half a kilometer from the forest where Belanger disappeared, unearthed green Dickies work pants and a rope at a depth of 1 meter, precisely the same items Ludger had on the day he vanished. Upon examination, Linda confirmed that the pants were the same size and appearance as those worn by her husband, and the rope was the one Ludger always took on hunting trips. However, the strange turn of events unfolded when the pants were sent for further examination. They mysteriously disappeared. On November 25, 1975, Ludger Bélanger had one simple wish: to bring home a deer to provide for his family. The joy he would have experienced returning with his prey was tragically cut short by a senseless act of violence. Thus, the hunter became an unintended victim of an unfathomable fate. I hope you liked this story. Please don't forget to leave a comment sharing with your thoughts below. Give a thumbs up this video and remember to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more captivating stories. Thank you for joining us on this remarkable journey, and we'll see you in the next video.